Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Wine and Real Estate.
Bonsoir.
So tonight we're really excited to have Ross on as our guest, and Ross also hosts a podcast, the Real Estate Golden Nuggets, and I had the chance of being interviewed a few months ago. And anyway, I'm really happy to have you on. And anyway, we're gonna drink to this. I don't know if you have a drink, but
Are you drinking tonight?
I'm not a huge wine guy, but I have this at home, so I'm gonna definitely pour one for you guys.
That's great. We're actually drinking a bottle. Just a little hint. One of our guests bought us a bottle, so.
Oh, you can't see the label.
Yeah, you can't see the label. It's kind of washed out, but it's Frugality.
Oh, you have to go slower, and then you can see
okay. Then you can see it. I'm never
Super
turning it the
slow.
right way.
No.
There we go.
I see it now.
And it's a Cabernet Franc from 2018 from the Niagara Peninsula.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's very good. It has a lot of blackberry undernotes or tones, or I don't know how you call it, but anyway, very good.
So, salud.
Yes, salud, santé.
Hello, guys.
And what are you drinking? So tell us more. It's red. I noticed that.
Yeah. So it's called. I'm sure you guys have known. Again, I'm not a big wine drinker, but yes, it's called Miami. It's I guess it's from California. Looks like. And it has a blend of like citrusy stuff. So there's a bit of it looks like there's a blend of lemon, some grapes, and it's nice. It's like it's more for people that I guess are kind of a little bit of a sweet taste.
Yeah.
Right. So I find it's nice when you have just like a casual get together with friends. Like you can easily go through a bottle really quick.
Yeah.
That's cool. Awesome.
Makes the conversation flow better.
Yes, we like California wines for sure. So why don't you introduce yourselves for people who don't know who you are, who are watching?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So as Francois mentioned, my name is Ross. I'm a realtor and an investor here in Toronto. I live in Toronto, but I'm heavily involved in the Niagara region. So speaking of the Niagara
wine region,
the winery.
This is from Niagara.
There you go. Right. So that's kind of like where I am in. I'm at right now. I am looking at other markets as well actively. I also started investing in Sarnia. But yeah, my main focus is Niagara. I really like the region. I'm finding there's a lot of great resources there. Price points are a little high, but you always got to just keep at it, and hopefully there's more opportunities out in the market. Sometimes you have to create opportunities, as we know, as investors.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you make an opportunity. People think you find an opportunity. That it does happen, but usually you have to create your opportunity, just like you said.
Absolutely. Yeah, and funny enough for me, it's like this whole real estate investing has been fairly new, to say the least. I mean, my first crack at real estate investing was actually back in 2013, but I didn't really know I was investing in a sense.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's funny when things like that happen in life, right? I mean, I knew of real estate investing. I had a great idea of it. I mean, back when I was even 18 years old, I remember having a conversation with my friends in high school to be like, hey guys, like rather than spending money on a car, why don't we all pitch in, let's say $5,000 or $2,000 each and go buy a house, right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this was back in the day, right? So imagine if we bought the property, we'd be laughing right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Oh my.
So what came first, being a realtor or being an investor?
For me, it was a realtor first. Yes.
Okay.
So I became a realtor, and my first crack at investing, as I mentioned, was kind of when I purchased a pre-construction condo.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I purchased it here in Toronto, and the way I came across this deal was a buddy of mine. I remember this vividly. We were going out for his birthday, and he turns around and tells me, because his dad was a realtor, and says, hey, there's this great deal. There's this property coming up in Toronto, like waterfront, and it's $500 a month. I'm like, sorry, did you say $500 a month? he's like, yeah. I'm like, that's insane. Like, sign me up. Like I didn't even know where it was located. I didn't even know what it looked like, how big it was. I was sold just on the price because that's unheard of, right?
Yeah.
You don't mean $500 of condo fees?
Right? You know what I mean? So,
Wow.
and then I asked him, I'm like, what's the down payment like? He's like, oh, $2,500 is on sign.
That's a joke.
Wow. Did you buy 10?
I wish I did. Honestly, now looking back, I'm like, I wish I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was my first basically crack at the real estate, and I had just started working. So like, I was like, you know what, I could totally afford that. Even if I work part-time somewhere, 500 a month is not a problem. I have 2,500 saved, so let's go ahead and do it. So, fast forward 7 years, it took a while for it to be built. However, once it was built, I built quite a bit of equity over time. So I'm very happy with it.
Awesome.
And this property is essentially what started me off with everything else, because as we know it, we have to leverage money.
Yeah.
And this was basically my little gold egg here that's helping me now leverage money and go buy other properties in other areas.
Yeah, it only
that's
takes
cool.
one. A lot of people think you need to go and go on a massive rampage, but you take one good property and then you can really scale from it if you're smart about it.
Absolutely. And then the best part was like I didn't even know that we could even leverage money. Like basically the way I got into this whole BRRRR and understanding power of leverage and money and so forth was when I remember one day just like being at the gym. I usually work out early in the morning. So like, everybody just has a habit of putting on music, you work out, you go about your day. And then one day I decided, I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just try to learn something while I'm here? I spend 2 hours every day anyway. I'm like, let me check out some podcasts, right? I have heard of podcasts. It was new to me. I never really listened to anything. And fair enough, I'm just searching and I type in real estate investing. And, the most popular one, as we all know, Bigger Pockets pops up, right? So
yeah, for sure.
So I tuned into that. I started listening. And obviously, because there's a lot of American linguistic in there, I was like, what are they talking about? I was so lost at 1020X or whatever it's called, all this stuff, right? So I kind of backtracked and went to the first few episodes, but it was phenomenal. It was eye-opening to me. Like when they start talking about the whole BRRRR model, I guys, I kid you not, I was like, is this even legal in Canada? Like I thought it was an American thing. Like how is that possible, right? How could you possibly buy a property, fix it, renovate, refi, and then do it all over again? Like that's insane. Like I wish I knew that.
Over and over.
Right. Like it's just it almost felt like it was a hidden secret that no one ever talks about, right? And then I was just literally shocked. And then so I started looking at, hey, maybe there's some Canadians who are doing this, right? So I started searching for more resources. I watched a lot of Matt McKeever's YouTube videos, and then I found Andrew Hines' podcast, which is one of the best podcasts. I really recommend that as well. He's phenomenal. And funny enough, that's connected. I was gonna say that's how I basically reached out to Francois, because he was featured in there, right? So I'm like, oh wow, like let me had him on Instagram, and then we start talking, and we start to get to know each other a little bit better, and we've been communicating ever since. So it's been phenomenal.
Yes. So are you a real estate agent in Toronto and investing in Niagara, or are you an agent in Niagara investing in Niagara?
Yeah. Good question, because I get that a lot. Everybody asks me, it's like what is what's going on? What's your deal? I'm like, I'm pretty much I can service anywhere, right? I don't necessarily have a specific territory. Like I although I live in Toronto, I don't like servicing Toronto, and it's not my first choice. And the reason I'm saying that it's very, very saturated.
Yeah.
I find, especially when I'm focusing on investment, there's not many opportunities here because of the price point, right?
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
So for me, I'm more drawn into the Niagara region, and I'm helping a lot of my clients kind of get into the market, whether it's their first time buying a property or they've never even thought of investing. They similar to what I went through. They didn't even know that this BRRRR method exists or house hacking exists. So I find that for a lot of people, it's their first time hearing that there's possibilities out there that you can leverage money and grow a portfolio, which they never thought existed.
Yeah, they think it's for the rich, like the super wealthy. You need to come in and have huge amounts of money and qualify for all the mortgages. And
that's right. I was one of them. I thought the same thing. I thought once I bought that condo, I'm done. I don't have enough money to go buy other properties. And that goes to show, education is a huge piece of everything. Had I not, entertained podcasts or YouTube videos or connected or reached out to folks like yourselves, I would not be where I am today. Like I wouldn't have no idea what's going on or how to, leverage money and create, a portfolio for myself. So that basically led me to my very first deal. And this was also completely out of ordinary, right? It was, I was looking at areas, Toronto doesn't make sense. I'm completely priced out. And then I came across this property in Fort Erie, and Fort Erie from where I live is like a good hour and a half away, right? So distance for me, that's distance investing. I know for you guys, it's probably
yeah. But it is.
It's a bit further.
It's not like you can just go, and especially with traffic. Like right now, we're fortunate there's very little traffic, but in a major traffic jam, that 1.5 hours and 3/4 could be more like 4 or 5 hours, I'm sure, with bad traffic. We used to live in Hamilton, and it was wicked. I worked in Burlington. Yeah. And what would take 15 minutes could turn into 2 hours, or winter, like 3 hours. So.
And the scary Skyway.
Yeah, the Skyway Bridge.
Oh, my goodness. You feel your car shaking.
Yeah, it says high wind, don't take the bridge. I'm like, well, what else are we supposed to do? Swim?
Yeah, no, for sure. So like that's basically, well, I saw a couple of properties in the area, and I'm like, hey, like, first thing that came in mind is like, okay, I see the price. The price is good. It's reasonable. It's unbelievable compared to what's happening in Toronto, for instance. Yeah. But if I buy this, are people renting? Like, who's going to live there? That was literally my first thought.
Who's my client? Yeah.
Yeah, because like you think like normally, especially for people that are in the city or that grow up in the city, like we're so accustomed to thinking, you know what, there's no life outside of the city. Like, unfortunately, that's how we think in the wrong way, right? So for me to get comfortable or to know the area a little bit better, what I did was I reached out to a local investor there, ONREIA, and same thing. I reached out to him because I connected him over Andrew Hines' podcast, and basically decided, you know what, let me just meet up with him if he has a few minutes. So I did have a prior conversation with him, but then he was nice enough to say, you know what, yeah, he's open for meeting up for lunch. So we ended up just meeting for beer, and ended up talking for like 4 hours straight.
Wow.
People are so passionate in this industry. It's crazy, like the kind of friends we've made and the acquaintances. Yeah. It's really great.
Mm-hmm. It's surprising.
No, absolutely. And if my wife was here today beside me, she would tell you, like, I have a problem. I talk too much about real estate.
No other subject.
It's not a problem.
I can't help it, guys. Like, it's just literally, I discovered my passion and what I truly love, and it's just on my mind 24/7, no matter what I do. So it's
so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
All of this, don't you have a daytime job as well?
I do. Yeah. So thanks for bringing that up. I think that's one of the first questions that one of my friends asked me is like, Ross, how are you managing all this? Like, how in the world are you able to do your 9-to-5 job, invest, like you have managed, and I'm self-managing too, right? So they're like, how are you managing your own properties? How are you managing contractors, renos, and servicing clients? I'm like, I don't sleep.
Yeah, you must. Yeah, no sleep.
You just stop sleeping.
Yeah. Like they see me doing podcasts. They see me, creating content. As you guys know, it's very time consuming. But the way I see it is like, this is the way that I can help people. This is the way I can create a brand for myself. This way I can tell people what I'm doing so they can learn from my mistakes. Because sharing is truly caring. And most importantly, I can connect with great folks like yourselves. And then I learn from you, right? And vice versa. Like, you never know, right? Any conversation could turn into little golden nuggets that you hear from one person to another that can definitely help you exceed and excel in your career.
Or turn into wine. Lately, we've been gifted a lot of wine. People know.
Yes, exactly.
There you go.
It's our thing. So tell us, Ross, for people who are listening who maybe don't know, like, how do you compare the Toronto market with that Niagara markets? Because I think all of them are hot right now. But I mean, what's happening in Niagara that's maybe different from Toronto?
Yeah, so Toronto is primarily, where I live at least, is condo based, right? So we're seeing a lot of condos. There's been a big shift in basically telecommunication, as you guys know it. People are working remotely due to COVID and everything. So what we're finding is that people are leaving the city, and it's been going for almost a year now. Like, we're past 1 year mark in terms of COVID, but there's been a huge shift in high demand and people looking for extra space, which totally makes sense, right? All of a sudden now, at a household, you'll have 2 people needing 2 desks in a condo, right? Like, you kind of run out of space. And also, someone's working in a hallway, the other person's working in a bedroom. It's a little tight, right?
And then the kids at home too. So
oh my goodness.
So yeah, it's fun at first. You're camping in your house, but then after a week, it's like, can you guys leave?
No, for sure. And that's what's driving everybody kind of out of the city, right? So people are seeing, you know what, I can sell this property, get a good value, and I can go, say, an hour away and buy it either 30% less than what I paid for my condo because it appreciated over time, or I can go buy my dream home now, right? People are thinking I can grow a family and eventually settle down and so forth. So long story short, what's happening is this condo market has started to decline a bit. So there has the rental market has picked up a little bit, but there's a point in time where there was like 20 units in a building for rent, and there's no tenants that want to live there.
And the vacancy used to be like 0, like super slim.
Correct. We were at a point where it was like literally it was like 0.8% or 0.9, like not even like 1% was the vacancy rate we were seeing before. But now it's like you're probably looking at 2, 3, maybe a little bit higher over the past couple of months. And even the tenants that were previously living, they're now sitting waiting for the leases to be over to be like, hey, buddy, I need a cut of my rent or I'm leaving. So that's another thing that's happening quite a lot.
Oh, really? Wow. That's surprising because it's like, it seems like the opposite of everywhere else that we hear.
That's right. And outside of the GTA, outside of Toronto, you're seeing the complete opposite end, right? Huge demand. People are bidding for homes. Every single mini city, you can say it, even outside of Niagara, like I'm seeing things like in Windsor and Sudbury, like it's just been a huge ripple effect. Those areas are all being like completely, swamped with people from the GTA, and I hear that all the time. The first thing when I do a showing is they ask me, "Where are you from? Are you from Toronto?" I'm like, "Yes." Like, "Oh, you're one of those."
One of those rare guys that are still there.
Yeah. I'm like, don't hate me. I'm just here to help.
So what has been one of your biggest challenges so far in this journey?
Yeah, definitely. So the challenge has been basically working with, trying to work with multiple things on my end, right? Like I mentioned, I have a lot on my plate. So I'm trying to help my clients, trying to do my corporate job and also maintain a work-life balance even for myself, right? So it's a little bit tough. But at the end of the day, like I find that when I do real estate, it doesn't feel like work for me. Like as a passion, as I mentioned earlier. So I truly enjoy it. I'm seeing a lot of growth in my own self. I'm seeing a lot of growth in the clients that I'm helping with. So truthfully, like challenge here is just trying to figure out where do you draw a line in terms of life balance. And I think a part of the podcast I had with Francois, we went over this, was like, it's a bit challenging because you have your wife, you have your family. Like as much as we need to make money, we also have to be there physically present at that moment, because otherwise you're gonna lose all the time together, right? So I find that's my challenge.
Yeah, you mentioned your wife. Is she investing with you, or?
Yeah, I mean, she's not necessarily directly involved, but obviously we talk about everything together. She's kind of like behind the scenes. She prefers it that way. But no, for sure, no, she's been she's my backbone. So like any deals that I do, anything that I am looking at investing, I obviously discuss it with her. We're on the same page. We have to make sure that we're moving together, and it's not one person wants to do one thing, another one doesn't. It becomes a lot tougher that way, right? Especially in a financial situation, for sure.
Absolutely. So has taking risks been a challenge for you?
Initially it was, absolutely. Yes, I love this question because especially when you first start off, it's very daunting to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go buy a property. I'm going to put all my money, all my savings into a down payment, right? And you don't know if it's going to work or not, right? Especially when you have never done it before, it is very daunting. For me, it got to a point, what made me comfortable getting, or taking action was, as I mentioned, the education piece. And then when I became a realtor, so I actually got firsthand experience dealing with clients, helping them buy their home. Right. So then I saw the process and I'm like, this is not as scary as I thought. Right. Like,
and then over and over, and you get to know and you get to see their mistakes too. So what not to do.
For sure.
When you're starting out, you feel like it's a bigger risk, but then you realize that it wasn't such as big a risk as you thought.
No, absolutely. I would see people, trying to pay a little bit too much for a property that was not worth it, because I'll have like comparables and, I would know the ARVs and everything in the area. So then I would try my best to educate, but of course you do what they say, whatever your clients want. So all you can do is give them your professional advice and then let them do whatever they want to do with the property.
That's it.
Yeah.
It must be tough as a realtor. Sometimes I'm sure you're like, this is really bad, guys. But anyway.
No, it is tough because everybody's situation is a little bit different. I mean, you're going to have the people that are a little bit more risk averse. There are people that are, risk takers, let's just say.
Yeah.
I like to get to a point where it's calculated risk personally. So I like to at least get them to that point where they feel a little bit comfortable pulling a trigger. And going back to what you guys asked about the condo, just wanted to point out, I mean, for people that are actually interested in living in the city, no better time to buy property than now.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes. I mean, don't buy it to invest unless you're okay with negative cash flow, let's say for another year. But if you're planning on living there, let's just say for at least a year or two, amazing time. This is the perfect time to get in. And I'm seeing a lot of that. Like I'm seeing a lot of first-time home buyers that are interested in staying in the GTA are now starting to buy the little properties. And at one point, as I mentioned, there was so much, listings available. People were panicking, investors were panicking and offloading, that you can get some really, really great deals. And I've done that personally. I've gotten my clients some, 60,000 to 50,000 less than asking.
Wow. In Toronto.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So in Toronto, the condo market is kind of like almost like a buyer's market in a way.
Really?
Right?
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Maybe we should look.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like if I mean, we know, and we don't have a crystal ball, but the way I see it, I think eventually things are going to definitely go back to normal. There's no doubt about it. Like a major city, you can't lose.
No,
right?
No.
Like
if you are planning the wave.
Absolutely. If you're planning on long term, I don't see a downside. Like you just have to be okay with some negative cash flow if you can. Again, as an investor, or if you want to live in it, just move in there. You're going to build some great equity over the years.
Absolutely. So you just mentioned cash flow. So the markets that you're investing in, are you able to cash flow like in Niagara? And I think you mentioned, was it Windsor or?
Sarnia.
Sorry. They're close.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I would not invest in anything that does not cash flow.
Yeah, same thing for us.
Yeah, I think it's the most safest play you can make. And just because of what's happening, I mean, if you're just looking at just the mortgage rates right now, like you can get like 1.25%. I've seen like less than 1% even.
0.99.
Right, like some crazy unheard of numbers, like historically low numbers we've never seen before. And so the way I see it is, okay, great, you have a really low mortgage rate today. Say you get a variable, but what happens in 3 years? Should the government or the Bank of Canada increase rates, right? If you don't have cash flow right now, guess what's going to happen then? You're going to be in, putting your hand in your own pocket.
Paying people to live in your property.
Yeah.
Unless it's appreciating, like that's
right.
That could be a play, but that's risky. And banking only on appreciation is very risky, in my opinion. I know you can get you can get very rich, but you can get very poor as well.
Yeah, it's based on a speculation, right? I mean, that's the thing. Like, and the way the market has been so far, it can't go up 20% every year like we've seen over the past year. It doesn't make sense.
No.
It's not going to get there. So for somebody who thinks that's what they're going to get in the next 3-4 years, they're in for a big surprise.
Yes.
Yeah. So going back to your question there, Jennifer, yeah, absolutely. I make sure I have, positive cash flow going into these properties. Absolutely. And you can, I mean, as we mentioned earlier, just looking on MLS, for instance, you can probably see, 100 listings, and out of the 100, there's 1 or 2 that are really good deals. And you have to be with a team or a realtor or whoever you're working with that can, see that potential and be very quick at it, like extremely quick at it. You got to pull the trigger. And and that's what I have been doing, and that's what I want to share. Like the recent transaction actually today is we just closed on it. This situation. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I was helping a client of mine, and she was looking for multifamily in the area. And again, everybody says, "Oh, there's nothing in St. Catharines. There's nothing in Niagara. Like, forget it." So I found this deal for her. I did a quick analysis on my end. I saw that cash flows at least 300 base as is, like not even moving the tenants or renovating and whatnot. And it was listed for 400. I got it negotiated down. I got it under contract for 370.
Oh my goodness!
Wow.
With inspection, not firm.
Insane.
Wow. Conditions.
Yes.
Did you bring a gun? What did you do?
No, so as I was saying, like it's like I like to move fast. The moment I see a listing, like it was listed maybe the night before, I saw it around maybe like 8, 9 o'clock. I tried calling and I figured, you know what? I don't want to get yelled at on the line. Like, what are you doing? I mean, bedtime. So I waited the next morning, spoke with the agent, got her, to sign the contract. My buyer was ready. She trusted me, and she knew that, if Ross says it's a good deal, I'm in, right? So you have to build a relationship with your clients, first of all. Let's just put it that way, because they have to trust you that if you are seeing a deal, then it is a deal. Obviously, that's when the conditions come in so that she can still do her due diligence and whatnot, right, to make sure. But yes, we our first walkthrough was with an inspector, which was amazing. We went in. Yeah, he was so phenomenal. Like he kind of just walked us through like all the issues with the house. Some of it, obviously, I scoped out when I spoke with the agent, but things like plumbing issues, galvanized plumbing, backup
insurance,
issues, things like that. Right? Those are definitely worth paying for, because with that in mind, with all this information that I gathered, then I was able to go back on the negotiation table and got another $5,000 off the asking. And
wow,
awesome.
And then what I wanted to say about this one. Yeah, what I want to say about this one is like this property, like let's just say like a comparable just in the area is $430. So I made my client over $65,000 just on the buy.
From day one. That's amazing. Wow.
Do you want to work in our markets?
Yes. Yeah,
we would hire you. I'm always open.
But it's such a key thing, because I think that we would be totally willing to work with a real estate agent who just like did exactly what you did, found us a deal, and then like, just where do I sign? Because it's so hard to find. It's hard to find deals. You have to be on the ball all the time, constantly, always scouring over deals. So
power team. So anybody listening to this, call Ross. Ross is going to get you $60,000.
No, absolutely. And we know it. Like, you have to make money on the buy. That's where the actual money is. If you think you're going to buy something $400 and you're going to wait 5 years, sure, you can make the money there. But then it's like, what happens in between, right? Like your money's locked in, right? You want to get as many of that money out as possible, especially when you're doing a BRRRR, as we discovered, right? So absolutely.
So tell us about your favorite project that you've done so far. It could be your own or a customer.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to share it. So this one is the property that I bought in Fort Erie that I mentioned. So another background story with this one. It was listed for $420. It's a triplex, this property. I was fairly new to the investment game, so I wasn't 100% sure what to do with it. And I hesitated. So I pulled, one of the cards of, judging a book by its cover, because on the outskirts of the house, it's a little run down. It's a little bit old. It's over 150 years old. It looks like a little cottage. Best way I can picture it for you guys is like, think of Snow White's little house. It was one of those, right? And I waited a week. I passed by it. I'm like, oh, $420. Like, no, that's too much. Long story short, a week later, I came back on the listing for some reason. I looked at the pictures and I looked at the inside, and I'm like, wow, the inside is renovated. It's nicely done. It's in good shape. Let me just call the agent. So I speak with the agent, and the agent goes, oh yeah, no, this one is unfortunately conditionally sold. I'm like, oh, what's the condition? He goes, financing. We've given them a week, and then he goes, yeah, like 2 of the 3 units is vacant. I'm like,
whoa.
Did you say vacant and renovated? Like, what? Like, I was so shocked. I wanted to like slap myself in the face, because I'm like, I passed on this deal a week before, right? I should have done something with it. And so I tell him, like, listen, his name was Michael. I'm like, listen, Michael, the moment that deal falls apart, for whatever reason, you got to call me, right? You got to call me. He goes, you got it. And a week after, I get a text. You would never believe it. The deal fell apart. Are you still interested? I'm like, oh yes.
Wow, those are the best deals.
Vacant in Ontario, it's like,
yeah. Even then, like I said, asking was $420. I got it on the contract for $405. So I was like, listen, awesome. I'm not gonna pay $420. $405 is reasonable based on the comps and whatnot. I went in there, checked out the property. Same thing. I moved, like, the whole key here is you got to move fast. So I was really right on the ball. Checked out the property. Looked it around. I found, again, some issues that I wanted to address and negotiate further. Went on my inspector and all that. So I also spoke with local agents in the area. Like I mentioned, Sean was a phenomenal help, and spoke to him. I'm like, listen, what do you think of this deal? Because he knows about it too, because he's there, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, I looked at that. I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, it needs work, etc. I'm like, Sean, what do you think it's worth? Like, should I throw it? I'm thinking maybe 330, 350. He goes, why don't you just try 330? If you think it's worth 330, just throw an offer. What's the worst that can happen? I'm like, you're absolutely right. What's the worst they're going to say? No? Okay. So I sent him a long report of everything that's wrong that we discovered, like just completely trying to negotiate with them so a seller has something to go off of. And the agent goes like, Ross, you're asking me to drop it like by like almost $75,000. Are you crazy? I'm like, hey man, I want you to present this, right? So he goes, and literally an hour later, he messages me. He's like, you won't believe this, Ross. He's accepting that offer. I'm like,
wow. Score. Wow.
That's amazing. That's a great story.
Yeah. And then right now I'm in the midst of just renovating the upstairs. So it's fully tenanted. Got some phenomenal tenants in there, getting some great cash flow in that property. Upstairs I'm renovating, and I'm going to be refinancing that property. So current ARV very conservatively is 500 right now. So I bought it at 330 and I'm looking at 550. So the perfect BRRRR plus extra equity. That's what I'm
nice. Wow.
Congrats. I'll definitely drink to that.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
My glass is empty, but cheers. That's a great deal. So
yes.
Favorite project. So tell us about your best real estate tip or story, if you have one.
Well, that was already a great story. But
yeah, but like maybe a tip. Like what? So you said be quick, be prepared. Yeah. So do you have another little thing?
A little tidbit.
Yeah. For sure. So it goes without saying, you got to surround yourself with the right people. You have to have the power team, as Francois mentioned as well. So, just working a realtor is not enough. You have to make sure your finances are in order first and foremost, because there's no point of you coming to me and say, hey, Ross, I want to buy a house when you don't have the money, right?
Yeah,
unless
exactly.
you figure out how you're going to get it, that's a different story. But if you haven't looked around, then that's no one's, good time of use. So brokerages, you definitely have to make sure you have a good mortgage agent. You want to make sure you're working with a great realtor. You want to make sure you have a good accountant. If you're planning on, of course, continuing this, it's a business. You got to think of this as a business. It's not just one off. Yeah, right. You have to make sure those things are in order. A good contractor as an absolute must, especially if you are just starting out and you're new. Make sure you reach out and connect with folks in your region. Do connect with them through WhatsApp or Facebook, whatever it is. Send them a quick message. Like, our community is very welcoming, which I absolutely love. And I think no one here would say no. They may delay in responding to you because they're busy, but you will get an answer.
Yeah, that's so true. I find that real estate investors, they're so kind and they're always happy to help. And I find that when we find another investor who wants to invest in the same market, we don't feel like it's competition. We're like, oh yeah, we're going to help you find a place. Like, it's just fun.
Yeah, let us visit and all that. And
send us pictures.
Yeah, you need tips for tenants. And I'm like, yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah. No, for sure. I remember even at one point I reached out to Francois because he was mentioning that you guys invested in Cornwall. And I was like, hey, Francois, what do you think of Cornwall? And then he was kind enough to tell me, hey, here's a great agent that I work with. Why don't you speak to him? And I did, right? I mean, that's the power of having a good network, because he could have just been like, okay, who's this guy? I'm not going to respond to that. I don't want him in Cornwall. Screw off, right?
I'm the king of Cornwall.
Not another
it's all mine.
Yeah. And it's a small city. I mean, so it's a small market. It gets saturated quickly. And it is filled with people from the GTA, and Montreal, and Ottawa, and then the local investors. So it's really busy, but
it's still, I mean, we just actually sold one of our properties in Cornwall yesterday. We celebrated. It sold over asking.
Yeah.
Cash offer. Yeah.
So yeah, we're just redirecting some of our investments.
They didn't use Ross to negotiate.
Just give me a call, man.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your podcast. Is it real estate, like for agents or real estate investors, or what's the...
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, so I started a podcast. Actually, it was one of my goals this year, was because I got a taste of a little bit of success. I'm like, listen, I would love to share my journey, as I mentioned, so that even if I make mistakes, I show that on my Instagram and stuff. I don't hide what's going on in the back end. It's not always, rainbows and unicorns, as we both know in this business, right? So I show the good, the bad, the evil, whatever you want to call it. So I figured, you know what? I love networking with folks. I love talking like how we are chatting right now. I'm like, the little tidbits we share, if someone else listens, that can drastically change their life. Like, why not just, get it out there? So I decided, you know what, let me start a podcast. So my podcast is basically, the whole reason why I launched it was to help as new investors kind of get in the market. And then for the ones that want to scale up, when I interview, individuals that have, growing portfolios, is they can learn one thing or two to help their portfolio grow. So it's targeted basically for new and intermediate investors. Let's put it there. I'm not advanced myself. Hopefully I'll get there one day, but it's a journey. So I love sharing, the information and communicating with everybody. So it's been really fun, and I really enjoy it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's such a key thing. I think that a lot of people do turn to podcasts to get information, especially when they're starting out or if they're intermediate. Like you said, we're always looking for ways to learn.
And we are having Andrew Hines on ours. Have you invited him on yours?
Not yet. He's a busy guy.
He's super nice. He'll most likely say yes. I don't see why he would say no. So.
Yeah.
I would love to have him. And one of my goals is to get on his podcast, because I'm like, I would love to go where I started. He was kind of like my Canadian landing.
Yes. Well, and I love the way he crunches the numbers,
Oh man, it's something else.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared.
When Francois was on his podcast, he's like, bang, 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 bang. He's like, hey, you made a better ROI than you thought.
Yes. I'm like, oh, okay, good.
Wow, it's a better deal than I thought. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So if you were to start all over, what would you do? And don't say start earlier.
Yeah, that one we've heard. No rich dad, poor dad, and no starting earlier. Something else, please.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a given. Yeah, if everybody had a time machine, they would start early, right? But I think for me, it was just changing my mindset. I think that's the biggest change that I would make. Because I grew up, with the mindset, I have to work 9 to 5, I have to go get an education and then work till I'm 65 and then retire. Like that was kind of like what I was brought up to think was how you're supposed to live and be successful, right? But then it got to a point in my journey where I'm like, it's not enough. It's not what I want to do. I'm not about, living paycheck to paycheck, because the more you make, the more you tax, right? Like,
and the more you spend usually as well.
Yeah, you upscaled your life, and then boom, you're back to paycheck, right? So I think that's the mental shift that I would definitely make a lot earlier in my life, that I was able to do. I would say probably recently, the most a couple of years, I would say, is probably when that mindset shift happened.
And I think that a lot of people, I think that's such a good point, that a lot of people are thinking of that shift, because we all kind of grew up with that thought that you did the 9 to 5, and then at 65 you're retired, and then around 80 you just go.
Yeah, that's it, you're dead. It's over. So
yeah,
and you can totally do it differently, like the 4-hour work week. I mean, there's so much inspiration about not just doing the 9 to 5 like everybody does.
And I even read a crazy book. I can't remember the title, but they say to take your retirement when you're in your 20s and 30s and then start working. So
that way you're guaranteed to have it?
Yeah, that's it, because you might die. So a personal story, my own father, he retired at what age?
53.
53. So he was a teacher, 53, and he died when he was 63. So he had 10 years of retirement. So that's not very long. I mean, saving for years, and then you die 10 years later. So
it's not a very long retirement anyway.
No, he had a really good 9 years, lots of traveling and stuff. That's great. Thankfully, he retired early. But imagine if he retired at 65.
He wouldn't have made it.
He would have been dead. So there you go. So you have to enjoy life on every day and each and every day, and make the most out of it. And
absolutely,
that's really cool.
Yeah, nothing is guaranteed. And that's one of my points that I was mentioning earlier. It's like I want to have that life balance, because I don't want to get to the point where I'm so busy working that I forget to live. That's not what this whole journey is about.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the journey. It's more fun, actually, the journey, than the end result, for sure. It's like buying a property. The big excitement is getting the deal and signing, and then you get the keys, and then, okay, I'm bored, next.
Yeah. Absolutely. For me, it's the negotiation, getting it on the contract. I'm
Yes.
like,
The
yes.
refinancing, and then you get approved, you get your check. Okay, now,
Correct.
okay, this is boring. I want something else.
Well, we definitely see that you're good at that. If you're getting deals under asking, that's great.
Niagara region, wow.
Yes, that's like unheard of.
Yeah, no, for sure. You just have to be adamant. You have to build good relationship with the realtors on the other side. Create a win-win situation. Like, I'm not here to rip somebody off. I'm just trying to be fair, right? Like, so I always like to leave some, meat on the bone for the next person too, because I could have, in my ideal world, I would have paid $350 for that property, but I think $365 was a good win-win for both.
Yeah.
Just because they need that extra cash for whatever, avenues they want to deploy. So you want to walk away, satisfied on both ends and not feel ripped off. I think that's the major key here.
And that's a huge mindset thing. Again, creating win-win. A lot of people don't realize that. They get started, and we were like that at the beginning too. I want the lowest price possible, and you nickel and dime and get really cheap with your contractor and everybody. Then it all goes south. So yeah, be generous, but yeah, of course, get a good deal. Be smart about it, but generosity and being paying for what it is, what it's worth, and it's totally worth it.
Yeah, when you pay your contractor or realtor well, they'll do you favors.
Treat you well.
They treat you well because they know you're going to call them again.
Absolutely.
That's honestly the key to success. At least from what I've experienced so far, it's like you have to treat everybody the same level of respect, whether they're a tenant, whether there's a contractor, or there's somebody on the street. Honestly, I had a similar situation when I had some really, really bad tenants in my Sarnia property. When I bought the property, I assumed them, and you guys won't believe the amount of, I guess, insecurity or lack of trust they had with previous people. And I don't blame them. I'm not sure what the experience was. That when I promised them, I'm going to deliver this on this date, I'll give you cash. They were like, you have to drop me off at the GO station. I'm like, I'll do it for you, no problem. Like, whatever you need, like, I'm here. They didn't believe me, Francois. They thought I'm bluffing. They're like, you're telling me you're gonna wake up 3 a.m, drive 2.5 hours to drop me off at the GO station 5 a.m. at Sarnia? I'm like, yes. They're like, bullshit. Right? It was just one of those things.
Wow.
But then eventually, eventually, like what happened with that? Sorry, I'm full of stories, but with this one, they ended up just leaving the place on their own. They basically abandoned it. Told me 2 days later. I found out, so I'm like, I told my property manager, I'm like, hey, go there, like put on, change the keys and whatnot, right? They left, and 2 days later, they messaged me, and I remember it was like middle of February, like extremely cold that day. It was like so cold in here, and they're like, hey, like we're locked out. I'm like, what do you mean? You sent me a message 2 days ago saying you guys all left and you're gone. Yeah. Like, oh no, we try to go to a friend's house and they're not happy with our accommodation. We need to go back in here. We're so cold. I'm like, oh man, okay, you know what?
Story.
Yeah. I called her. She like got there, opened the door, let him in. But like that literally changed our relationship like drastically. Like you guys won't believe how much respect I gained in their eyes to be like, oh, this person is like a legitimate human. Like he has a heart, right? Someone else could have been like, screw off. Like you left, it's done. Like I'm not gonna bother with this. But I'm like, no, like it's cold. The last thing I want is somebody to get sick, right? Like we need shelter, right? So that helped me kind of build a good relationship with them. And then we got to the point where we both mutually agreed on a certain amount. And they left happy and I have a place vacant. But like that just goes to show, if you treat people the right way, things will happen for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So on that note, any final advice?
Yeah, no, I would say it's just like the biggest thing here is mindset. I truly believe that. So don't be afraid to take risks. I think it's very easy for us to be risk averse. Make sure you do, you have calculated risk. I think what helps build confidence is education, but then don't stop there. Make sure you go in there and take action.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Take action. I know that's our motto is just do it. What's the worst that can happen? So that's the calculated risk. What's the biggest risk? And then that's it. Just get going. And even small actions. Like that's why I really like following you. Anybody tuning in, you share some really good insights and some great tips and ideas to take action, even fitness and stuff and traveling. I'm sure it will happen again at some point. So
yes,
that's
absolutely
great.
So yeah, if somebody wants to follow you or get into contact with you so that you can negotiate their next deal, where can they find you?
Yeah, they can connect with me. I'm very active on pretty much on all social media, but mainly I'm on Instagram. I'm quite active there, on YouTube. Again, I have my podcast. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to, answer any questions you have. I'm always open to conversating, connecting with people. So by all means, feel free, please.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that we had a chance to talk with you. You're such a nice guy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was so nice to meet you, Jennifer. I know I talked to Francois before, but and Francois, by the way, I love that you mentioned that earlier about, what's the worst that can happen? You die. I remember you mentioned in my podcast, and I'm like, I live by that now.
But seriously, because you don't know how much time you have. Maybe we're gonna go to bed and not wake up. Am I happy with the result? Then no, then get up and do something.
I totally agree. No, I totally agree. And then I love that. I love that there's people like yourselves out there who are also very open and willing to share and educate. So for folks that are not following you, when I repost this, I want them to follow you guys and also get educated and learn the process and the journey along. So it'll be really fun.
Thank you so much. A pleasure. And yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll buy some cheap GTA condos. I'm tempted to go move in or use them for crypto mining. You put computers and they just, because you have good internet, so you could just fill them with computers. Anyway,
my
just
goodness,
kidding.
Don't give him any ideas.
Francois already ahead of it.
There you go.
But thank you so much and have a great night. And thank you for everyone who's watching.
Yes.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. Bye.